Well, welcome back to the Digging Trenches podcast, where we aim to help you raise your children to love Jesus and follow him all of his days. Today, I'm joined by Brandon Scroggins, who is the pastor of Reformation Baptist Church in Wetumpka, Alabama. But I wanted to give a little extra time to do an introduction for you, because I know that most of our people are not familiar with you. So if you're not interested in introductions, please just forward on. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I'm not even going to know you did it. That's all right. But you have been such a blessing to me and my wife. If people don't know Watson Brandon, you are the Brandon behind that. I was thinking the other day, and you are actually, now that I'm 32, you have been in my life for half of my life.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I grew up going to a different church in Wetumpka, but you were a youth pastor. But I went to that church, but everybody in town knew you had the cool youth group. And the best part was you had your youth group on Thursday nights. So
Mm-hmm.
I knew I was
Yep.
16 because I was driving. So on Thursday nights, I was able to drive to your youth group. And
That's how it started.
we're in church right now. I can't say I always had the right intentions. I didn't get saved until 2020 or 21, I believe. But ever since then, you were my wife's youth pastor. Growing up, you were with her when she came to Christ. She shares that story a lot, and obviously a tender, awesome moment. But you've also been a huge help in growing, especially getting into ministry, where to go to school, all those things. You have played such a vital role in those. So I thought it absolutely fitting because you're also the person who introduced me to family worship. So I went to Bible college, never heard about family worship. I went to seminary, never heard
Mm-hmm.
about family worship. The first time I ever heard about family worship was because you said it.
Mm.
And it has been such a challenge. And it's only fitting as the Lord has used you in my life. He's also used you to help me grow in this matter. So enough of that. That's the long introduction. If you're looking for where to stop, this is your point. Um, I guess I want to start. We talked about your profession, but tell me a little bit about your family. How long you've been married? When people hear you talking about your kids, what ages are you talking about? How long you've been a parent? The whole spiel.
Hey, that's extremely humbling and encouraging. We are so proud of you and Alex, your family. It's just really been a blessing to watch you guys grow, to watch how God's using you. We couldn't be more thankful. What's funny is you said, "Hey, don't forget, I'm going to ask you how long you're going to be married," and I'm like, "Thank you for the
Just
reminder,"
forgot. Yeah.
because if you ask me or my wife, we're both like, "I don't know, a long time."
Right.
So we have been married for 18 years. In October, we dated for 4 years before that. We now have 5 children. Harley is our oldest. We have one girl and 4 boys. And
Bless
then,
her.
yeah. So after Harley at 14, we have Micah at 12. Then we have Owen at 10. And then we have Titus and Jude, who are 9 months. So we're ranging the spectrum, and they keep changing their ages. So I keep forgetting their ages, but it's a full house, and we are really excited.
All
And
right.
I've been in vocational ministry now for almost 20 years and been at this church where we are now. We planted Reformation Baptist Church almost 8 years ago,
All
and
right.
it's been a good ride. It really has.
Sweet deal. So I shared with you how I came to know about family worship, but I don't think I've ever asked you how you came to know about family worship. So can you give us background of when this idea of family worship was first introduced to you?
So that's a great question. Growing up, I was raised in a Christian home. My parents were wonderful parents, but they did as much as they knew.
Mhm.
So they took me to church on Sundays. They took me to Sunday school. We did not go back on Sunday nights or Wednesday nights. Matter of fact, Cody, I remember the first time I wanted to go back to church on Sunday night. I was
Mhm.
getting more involved when I was youth aged. I was connecting to my youth pastor. And I told my mom, I said, "Hey, I'm thinking about going back to church tonight. Would that be okay?"
Right.
Thinking what mom would say no.
Right.
And she looks at me with a straight face and she goes, "But we're not Sunday night people."
Mm.
And I said, "But I want to be." Well, I did not have the most pure of intents. There was a young lady
Yeah.
who was wanting to see. She was actually helping to teach one of the classes, and
Hey, the Lord uses several avenues, okay? He created us. He knows what works.
well, it worked out well because I ended up marrying her and
Right
have been
on.
married to her for almost 20 years now. So I remember my dad trying to teach me how to pray. I remember my parents wanting to establish a strong work ethic, to love Christ, but we just didn't know much. We had never heard the term family worship, family devotion. My parents tried to teach me to be God fearing and responsible, but it was more of a we're trying to get to church and do the best that we can.
Yeah.
What else do you want from us?
Mhm.
And almost a sort of we're in church on Sunday, but don't try this at home too much.
Right.
Just get to church.
Mhm.
And so I had wonderful parents. But when we had my first child, Harley, who will be 15 in December, that was the most sobering thing in my life. And it is for most people.
Right.
So looking back on that, I remember when we were about to take her home from the hospital, and any father has probably had an experience like this. And we put her in the carrier, and they said, "Okay, sir, it's time. It's time for you to go. We'll walk you down." And I remember thinking, "You're really going to let me take this home?"
Yeah. I've been there, yeah.
Sir, you have to take this home. And that began a process in my life of just very, very sobering thinking, what do I do?
Mhm.
And a couple of things intersected in my life when Harley was still just a newborn baby, even preparing when we knew that we would be having a child, that God began to use in my life. And one of those was I thought, God, this is an eternal soul
Mhm.
that you've given me that will never die.
Yeah.
What do I do? And I remember just the thought entering my head, if you would just shepherd her the way that I shepherd you,
Mhm.
then you would never go wrong. So I began to trace out in scripture the fatherhood of God, what it looks like for God to shepherd his people. I began to realize that God shepherds us daily,
Mhm.
not just weekly, not just monthly or yearly. And in the context of that, I began to just read everything I could get my hands on. I began to find the Puritans
Mhm.
who have done a fantastic job, or many have recovered what they were doing in their families. I began to get a hold of Joel Beakey, and I found Donald Whitney, his book on family worship. And I just began to consume these things and begin to see, hey, this really should be a regular rhythm in our life.
Mhm.
So that coupled with just walking back through studying the scriptures,
Yeah.
when you look even through the Old Testament law, you see that with the sacrifices that were offered, there was a morning and an evening rhythm
Mhm.
every day.
Yeah.
You begin to see throughout the Old Testament that yearly there were multiple feasts where whole families would come together and parents would instruct their children.
Yeah.
You begin to see in the Old Testament how there's monuments that are set up, stones that are set up. There's tangible reminders,
Mhm.
and God's people are saying, "Why do you want me to build this or do that?
Yeah.
Why are we having a Passover, and doing this with the bread?" And every time God would say, as a tangible reminder to daily teach your children.
That's right.
And I began to realize, man, I certainly want to raise my children in church,
Mhm.
but I want it to be more than that.
Yeah.
And then one other incident on top of that, we had been in youth ministry for years before we had Harley. And I remember having students in our youth group, families were pouring into, and I began to think, man, I love this, but I think that I could see even more impact if I could be with these kids
Mhm.
every single day,
Yeah.
disciple them the way that Jesus did his disciples. And it hit me, you can, it's called fatherhood.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Every day.
Yeah.
And so Christy and I just began to try to think through. It was messy. It was far from perfect, but we just began to try to put it into practice. We tried to do it at home.
Yeah.
Here's what we realized though. It is if you've got a picture in your head
Mhm.
of a pretty quiet, idealistic version of family worship
Right.
where you're going to read long portions of scripture. The
Mhm.
kids are not going to make a noise. and then everyone's going to praise dad at the end of the
Right.
night because of how great.
Oh yeah.
That is not going to happen.
Forget that.
That
Yeah.
will probably never happen
Yeah.
for most of us. Most of family worship for us in the very beginning was more training and disciplining the children, dealing with changing diapers or going to the bathroom.
Mm,
It was a mess.
yeah.
But we're learning.
Mm,
And that's what life is. Life is
that's
a
right.
mess.
That's right.
And we just begin to learn as we go.
That's
And it's been
awesome.
a good ride.
So through your studies, through practice, all of that, through what you've read, when someone thinks of family worship, what elements are in your mind, and what elements should be in their mind to say this is family worship? We've done it, or maybe we're not hitting the mark in what we're
Mm.
trying to do. What essential marks are there to family worship?
I think as you look at the scriptures, Old Testament and New, I think that you see a few elements that rise to the top. Now, as you particularly go back to the Puritans, we're talking 16 and 1700s, where there is just a revival of this sort of thing, and they would call it family religion.
Right.
Uh, the three elements that you see rise to the top are read, sing, and pray. Read, sing, and pray. So it's not rocket
Right.
science. I think typically we put so much pressure on ourselves. We think that we've got to have some sort of sermon prepared, some kind of engaging illustration or story to hold their attention. We think that we've got to know all of the answers. What I think we do is we put way too much pressure on
That's
ourselves.
right.
We think that there's got to be a fireworks moment
Mm,
where we're seeing immediate life change,
mm,
and it's not the case. What you see throughout the scriptures and throughout church history, when done fruitfully, is, for starters, we're just opening God's word and we're
yeah.
reading it together.
That's right.
It may be a couple verses, it may be a short passage. What we do right now in our family is we're reading through just a chapter at a
Mm,
time. We're reading through the book of Jeremiah, and we just read a chapter and then we talk about it. Sometimes we don't talk about it at all, and
mm,
then other times we may talk about it for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes.
mm,
But we're reading the scriptures together on a regular basis. What does that look like? Well, it depends on the age of your children. Maybe you don't have children. Maybe this is you and your spouse.
mm,
Maybe you're a single and you're integrating into someone else's family
yeah.
and enjoying with them. It could be a verse, it could be a chapter, it could be multiple chapters. Scripture doesn't say,
Right.
but we're reading the scriptures, and then we're also praying together.
Mm,
Now, here's what I noticed in my own life, and I've noticed this in pastoral ministry. If you're not used to praying
mm,
with your spouse, with your family,
yeah.
it is very, very weird and awkward at
Mm,
first. But you've got to break through that.
yeah.
I remember being at a conference and the pastor asked a room full of thousands of men, how many of you pray for your wife?
Mm,
Every single hand went up.
yeah.
The next question was, how many of you pray with your
Oh yeah.
wife? Almost no hands.
Yeah.
So that can be a little clumsy at first.
Hmm.
Embrace the awkwardness
Yeah.
of it. Pierce through and then just offer up a simple, brief prayer.
Mm,
Maybe a mother praying over her children. I really, really want to encourage fathers to
yeah.
pray over their families. Don't use this. I would encourage you necessarily to deal with discipline issues. Do that, but let it be a joy.
Yeah.
Pray a blessing over your family.
Mm,
Don't pray in these long, extravagant, don't feel the pressure
yeah.
to impress people with your prayers. Just pray simply to the Lord.
Yeah.
So you're reading the scriptures, you're praying just simple, short prayers, a
Mm,
blessing, and then singing together.
yeah.
The hardest part for us to develop was singing.
Mhm.
If you're not a musical family,
Okay.
that's probably even more awkward than
Yeah.
praying. So what we would do is just whatever our church is singing, we would pick one of those songs, and then we would just begin to sing together.
Mhm.
And it sounded horrible. It probably still does. It was awkward, but the more you do it, the sweeter it
Yeah.
becomes. And so if you're not used to doing family worship at all, just start opening the scriptures together
Yeah.
for 5 minutes a day, 3 minutes a
Mm,
day. If you are, start praying together. If you're doing that, start thinking about singing to the Lord together.
mm,
But I would really encourage, make it a joy,
yeah.
something to be looked forward to.
That's crucial. I mean, when I first started trying to do family worship, I started. We would go all the time to people's homes who were doing it regularly, like they were
Mm,
years into this, and they'd have a piano at their house. They'd have a
mhm,
full hymnal. They got a write out, and I'm like, I
yeah.
feel so inferior right now. I am not doing anything like these
Uh-huh.
guys. This is such an area that it's so easy to see what everyone else is doing really well. It's almost like the social media of
Mhm.
church, almost like you put your highlight reel
Yeah.
out to see. And that this is one of those things that if if you're already self-conscious about this and you're seeing what others are doing,
Mhm.
it's going to be so easy to think, oh, well, I'm not there.
Yeah.
Like, the do something. That's the argument here.
Mhm.
It's been such a blessing to see how something, your kids, your wife, man, they pick up on those things
Yeah.
so quickly. But I want to ask, um, we've been really fortunate. The Lord has blessed us tremendously. You work from home. I have a pretty flexible schedule to where I can read people like Jonathan Edwards, how they
Mhm.
were uh, doing family worship morning and evening.
Mhm.
Those things are really easy to implement in our schedules.
Mhm.
But I know there's going to be people listening to this where both parents are working outside of the home,
Mhm.
kids are going to school, maybe got extracurricular things going on in the evenings,
Mhm.
and all they're thinking throughout this is busy, 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 always things to do. We're always on the go. How how do you handle it to schedule? Like, we don't want to say if you don't do it, we want to present the ideal
Mhm.
of if you can do this daily, awesome. But I don't want to present that ideal and at the same time make someone feel guilty or shameful
Mhm.
because maybe that's not the life circumstances they have right now.
Yeah.
So how would you go encouraging a family who that typical American, both parents working outside the home right now, next steps of scheduling family worship in their home?
Yeah, so I would give two pieces of counsel. See, family worship and thinking through when I'm going to do this and how I'm going to do it. I liken it to New Year's resolutions.
Mm,
January 1st, everyone's going to the gym and everyone's going on a diet.
that's
And they
right.
say that by Valentine's Day, almost no one's in the gym and almost no
Mm,
one's on a diet. I would give two pieces of counsel. Number one, be realistic.
yeah.
Be realistic. So if you've never really done family worship,
Mm,
just shoot for once a week. You
yeah.
might call it your family meeting, your family gathering, and do the best you can to guard that time.
Mm,
It could be Sunday evenings, Saturday evenings. Set something aside. If you've already begun to integrate that into the life of your family, but you're not as consistent as you would like to be, then the next step may be, hey, and this has been our plan from the beginning. Shoot for every day, and then if you've never done it, then you're happy with once a week.
mm,
Shoot for every day, but if you begin to get your family used to it, maybe you're happy if you can get two or three a week,
mm,
and then build on that. The problem I think for many of us is we fall off the horse. We
yeah.
miss a day, which
Mm,
turns into a week, and then we feel guilty going back to it.
mm,
But you've just got to get back on the horse.
yeah.
Just so you haven't done family worship recently or in a long time,
Yeah.
start tonight.
Yeah.
Start tomorrow night. So be realistic.
Mm,
My next counsel is take the long view.
yeah.
Take the long view.
Mm,
Donald Whitney tells a story in his book of how his family worship, particularly with his daughter,
mm,
it was never glorious.
mm,
It was always something that they just did on the go. They barely fitted in. He never thought that a single time they had family worship, it really seemed impactful. And then he tells a story about how when his daughter graduated in front of a whole school of people, she gave an address quickly to her father, and she began to weep about how
mm,
the most influential thing in her entire childhood and growing up in the Whitney home was family worship.
mm,
And her dad begins to weep, thinking, I never even realized that you were honestly
yeah.
paying attention. And so what he did is he took the long view, and you
Mm,
realize you're probably not going to have many explosive moments.
mm,
What you're going to have is a lifetime of accumulation of small moments,
Yeah.
and they add up over
That's
time.
right.
So be realistic and take the long view. And then practically, honestly, a fair amount of our family worship is done on the road.
Yeah.
Um, there's always moving pieces. There's things that are going on. Life happens. But you know what? We find ourselves on the road a fair amount,
Yeah.
quite a bit. So whoever's in the passenger seat, they're reading the scripture.
Mm.
We're praying together. We'll sing. We'll talk about it. But you want to establish the best you can a pattern,
Mm.
and you want to do that as frequently as you can. And then you want to guard that time.
Yeah.
Could be in the morning, could be in the evening. Maybe you're fighting for a second.
Mm.
So you're doing it while you eat.
Yeah.
You're doing it on the way to the ball field.
Mm.
Just begin to integrate it into your life in some way, and then be as consistent as you can.
Mm.
Be as clear, be as concise as you can. Don't think that it's not worth doing
Yeah.
if we can't read 3 chapters and then, two other books or whatever.
Mm.
I think that it's way more effective. Everybody's different, but I
Yeah.
think that it's way more effective to do it consistently,
Mm.
uh, but if need be, shorter
Yeah.
and more doable, so that it doesn't feel daunting.
Mm.
It just is part of the rhythms in your life, and over time, it will be.
Yeah.
It will be.
As much as we say we want fathers to lead in the home, especially in this endeavor, I found my wife to be such an encouragement. I remember one time in particular, I don't remember all the circumstances, but it was a bad day. This is when I was plumbing, and it was a bad day at work. So I come home, and it's like I know I have to read the scriptures to my kids,
Mhm.
and nobody's listening. I got a
Mhm.
house full of little kids, and they are not listening to what I'm
Mhm.
saying. And I just shut the Bible. I'm like, okay, never mind, never mind. I'm angry.
Mhm.
And Alex was such a tender encouragement to be like, hey, it's okay, keep trying. And as much as we want dads to take the forefront in this, the ladies in our lives, our wives, can be such an encouragement, and we need to lean into them.
Mhm.
That this can be hard. I don't know how it's going to fit into our schedule.
Mhm.
I just want to tell the wives, man, like you guys have such a vital role in helping in this regard and encouraging.
Mhm.
Um, Sometimes men, we just need to hear that we're doing a good job,
Mhm.
because in my head I'm not doing a good job. I
Mhm.
am blowing this. My kids think I'm a doofus, whatever it might be.
Mhm.
So all that to lead into life happens sometimes. So
Mhm.
you spoke on it briefly, but you set a schedule. You listen to this podcast, you're fired up. We're going to start doing this every day,
Mhm.
and then life happens.
Mhm.
Or somebody's got to go to the hospital, or you're called into work for overtime. And now this perfectly scheduled outline that you had
Mhm.
is up in smoke. It's up in flames. What's your encouragement to that person that they listen to this, they want to move ahead, but life keeps happening, things keep coming up, and it just seems so difficult to get any sort of regular routine going?
Yeah. Well, there could be any number of situations. There could be any number of variables that people are dealing with. But I think what we need to remember is that to one degree or another,
Mm.
life happens to all of us.
That's right.
We all go through seasons to where unexpected tragedies, or maybe just a season of busyness.
Mm.
What'll happen in our life is we'll hit seasons of busyness. They're fairly predictable, but not always
Yeah.
when we know that's going to happen. And I look at my wife and she's like, "Hey, you know that this is just a busy season right now.
Mm.
It's okay." And so you just bear with that, and then you do the best that you can with the time that you have. And like I said, whether it's on the road or you're just burrowing out a particular time period once a week, you're bearing with that.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I've noticed in my life and others as a pastor is if our life is just a continual season
Mm.
that never ends,
Yeah.
unless there's some sort of extended circumstances that just cannot be helped.
Yeah.
We may need to back up and just say, hey, it's time for us just to sit down and think, where are we going? If we continue to live and do what we're doing, what's the trajectory?
Yeah.
And so, kind of life perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and that's good for us at times. And what that can do is cause us to recalibrate our lives
Yeah.
and to begin to take everything off the table and then one at a time establish, okay, this is of first importance.
Mhm.
We really need to carve out
Yeah.
making sure this is essential. So I would say bear with seasons of busyness, of unexpected things, but also don't let that continue for too long if you can help it.
Yeah.
Begin to think through things in your life that you can reshape, that
Mhm.
you can change, that you can take out, because family worship is never just going to happen.
Mhm.
I don't know of a single person through nearly 20 years of ministry who just said, you know what, we started doing family worship because we just didn't really have anything to do.
Yeah.
No one says that.
Yeah. That's true.
You just have to make it happen.
Yeah.
But you have to make it a joy and you have to just do it consistently in small doses, I
Yeah.
believe.
I found in my own life, you make time for the things you care about.
Yeah.
And we urge you, please care about this. If, in my own life, I found it to be such an accountability too. When I'm trying to follow Christ, I'm trying to turn from my sin and deal with things in my life, knowing that I'm going to be leading my family both in the morning and in the evening, talking
Hmm.
about the Word. That has been such a it hems me in to
Yeah.
where I'm really not saying that you have to be this holy person to lead your family, but I'm thinking about that throughout the
Sobering.
day, that it's keeping you on track.
Yeah.
So someone hears this podcast, they're excited to get started or take the next step in starting family worship or in growing their family worship at home. What problems do you see or you anticipate them having? What have been the biggest challenges that you see outside of what we've talked about with scheduling and things like that? When you're doing family worship, what are the biggest challenges that people can expect to face?
Well, I mean, you get the problem of managing expectations. I
Mm,
think that it's important, and I mean this in the healthiest sense possible. Keep your expectations low.
yeah.
Keep your expectations manageable. It's probably, if you have young children, it's probably going to be loud, noisy. You're not going to accomplish as much as you want to. That's okay. Be consistent.
Mm,
Manage your expectations. And then be patient. Bear with your family.
mm,
Um, if you're beginning to see the need for family worship, there's a chance that it took you a while to
yeah.
begin to see it. So be patient. If
Mm,
your children are older, if you have teenage children, and this hasn't been a practice in your life, you could be in a situation to where we've had many church members that said, "Hey, I need to sit down with my family for a few minutes,"
mm,
and they'll face their family and just say, "Hey, I'm sorry, I hadn't been doing this, and I want to."
mm,
And then you just got to be patient
yeah.
because it takes time to, as the podcast says, dig those
Yeah.
trenches. So give it some time. If your wife is stressed because she has so much on her plate,
Mm,
keep the expectations low. Give her some time.
yeah.
If you're a frustrated wife because your husband just doesn't take the initiative to
Mm,
do this, set him up for success. Encourage him. Give him the things that would be helpful. Help prepare the family in the home.
mm,
So be patient, manage your expectations, and then just start with an open Bible.
okay.
That's what I would encourage you with.
All right. Well, man, I want to thank you for being here today. It's been a blessing. If you have not gotten this book, Family Worship, we've talked about Don Whitney a little bit. You need to read this book. As a head of household, you need to read this book. If you are a member of Valley Baptist Church, track me down in the halls. I have a free copy for you. You need this book. And as we've said many times through, what's the reverberating line you're going to hear in this book is do something, start somewhere. That's my encouragement to you today. I have found in my own practice of trying these things that God is so merciful to meet you right where you are. That if your desire is truly to worship Him, to please Him with your life in this area, and you try something, you take one step, He is so gracious and merciful to meet you right where you are. So thanks again for being here, Brandon. Loved
It's a
having
joy.
you.
Very
Thank you
much a
guys
privilege.
for checking in, and we'll see you next time.